were there none?
Well, I am not going to canvass conversations that I had when Kevin Rudd was Prime Minister and I was Deputy Prime Minister. I'm simply not going to do that.
Tony Abbott, your response?
Sure. Look, this has been a bad government, and the problem has been the government, not the Prime Minister. The problem has been the policies, not the face at the top. Now, unfortunately, they've changed the face at the top, but nothing has really improved. In fact, the shambles has just got worse over the last month or so. The Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister, set herself 3 tasks, 3 messes created by the government that she was going to fix. The mining tax fix, well, that hasn't really worked. The boat people fix, well, that obviously hasn't worked. And the climate fix, well, we all know what that is, another fudge. Now, this is the problem. It's been a very bad government that is trying, as it were, to trick the public that it's somehow different because it's changed the person at the top. But we've seen this at the state level, and I think people are very disappointed with governments and political parties which, in the end, play these sorts of factional games, these sorts of games over the leadership.
All right, our next question's from Laura.
I have a question for both of you, or questions for both of you on Afghanistan. A conference of a lot of Australia's allies in Kabul last week was talking about a 2014 exit strategy. Ms Gillard, do you intend sticking with the former Prime Minister's stated ambition to withdraw troops in 2 to 4 years' time? And Mr Abbott, in light of the Kabul conference, is sending more troops still an appropriate strategy to pursue if you were in government?
I might just say we're nearly out of time for the question and answer session, so if we can keep these tight. Tony Abbott.
Yeah, well, Laura, look, I think our troops in Afghanistan are doing a very difficult job magnificently. And I think it's important that they stay there until that job is done. And the job is to ensure that Afghanistan never again becomes a safe haven for terrorists. Now, as for what might happen in the future, let's see how things develop. And I would respond as Prime Minister appropriately, I hope, to any development, but I'd always do it with the advice of the military chiefs.
Prime Minister.
My position is the same as Kevin Rudd's, and the position is we've got a mission. The mission there is to train the Afghan National Army so that they are in a position to guarantee stability and security in the nation. Our best estimates now on advice are that will take between 2 and 4 years. But Laura, the thing that defines how long we're going to be there is getting the job done, not a deadline in time, though our advice currently is the mission will take 2 to 4 years more.
All right, there are many issues that we could still cover tonight, but unfortunately we have run out of time. It is time for closing statements, and Prime Minister, once again, you're leading off.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you, Tony. And I think that's been a good discussion. And Tony and I have had the opportunity of having a lot of debates and discussions over our years in politics. I think this has been a good one. But there are real differences between us, and as we move to the 21st of August, Australians will be assessing those differences. As Prime Minister, I would never cut back the investments in our schools that are enabling us to have better quality teaching. I would never cut back the investments that are giving computers to kids. I would never cut back our trades training centres because they're so important to giving kids skills for real work, the real world. And I would never cut back the investments we're making in GP super clinics, in the after-hours hotline to help you find a doctor. I wouldn't cut back our investments in e-health records, the shape of the future, and I wouldn't stop building the national broadband network so important to the jobs of the future. These are real differences. I would go forward investing in the services that Australian families need. Great schools, healthcare, and the shape of the future, the national broadband network. And as Prime Minister, I simply can't imagine putting up the company tax rate and having that flow through to prices that families pay. I'm going to decrease, I'm going to cut the company tax rate. And I wouldn't ever I would never go back to work choices. It would be wrong to do so. I'd go forward with our Fair Work system. Now, the election on the 21st of August will be about the future of this country, and I believe we are a confident, optimistic people, and there's no challenge in our future, no challenge that's too hard, that we won't master it if we do it together. And I am an optimistic person. I am a believer that a glass is half full, and I will bring that optimism to think my way through the new solutions, to learn the lessons, to deliver the policies that Australia needs. Policies to make sure we've got a strong economy and prosperity, including getting the budget back to surplus in 2013. Policies to make sure we've got a sustainable Australia that we're taking with us into the future, our very special, very precious Australian way of life. And policies to make sure that families have the services they need. That's what I'm standing for. I'm going to be submitting myself to the judgment of the Australian people on the 21st of August, and I believe in their decency. The decision is for the Australian people. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Mr Abbott, your closing statement.
Well, thanks, David. My pledge to the Australian people is to end the waste, to pay back the debt, to stop the new taxes and to stop the boats. That's my action contract with the Australian people. Under the coalition, there'll be no big new taxes. Decisions will be made by Cabinet, not power brokers, and government will live within its means, like you do, like businesses do. Now, tonight was the Prime Minister's chance to tell us why the government deserved to be re-elected, but she couldn't. The big risk in this election is that a really bad government might get the second chance that it doesn't deserve and that Australia can't afford. This is the first government in living memory which is not running on its record. It can't run on its record because that's record spending, record deficits, record boats, and getting rid of an elected Prime Minister in record time. Re-elect this government and there'll be 6 years of pink bat disasters and school hall rip-offs. There'll be more spending, more backflips, more debt, more taxes. It will just get worse. There'll be more hits on your standard of living. We'll get a mining tax if Labor is elected. We'll get a carbon tax if Labor is elected, thanks to the preference deal with the Greens that not even Bob Brown likes. So this election will determine whether the Prime Minister is to be elected by the people or by the power brokers, whether Prime Ministers are to be chosen on the basis of the job they've done or gender, and whether the national government should be run as a mate's machine like the Labor governments in New South Wales and Queensland. It's about whether the public can trust the Labor Party when not even Kevin Rudd could. So there is a better way. A fair income, paid parental leave scheme, that standing Green Army, 15,000 strong, community-run schools and hospitals with more beds, and above all else, a better economy with no reckless spending and less debt. So, when you come to vote, I hope that you will look at the record, not the slogans. Look at the incompetence, not the promises, and look at the broken government, not the new face at the top. I ask for your support to end the waste, repay the debt, stop the new taxes and stop the boats. This coalition is all that stands between the Australian people and 3 years of more incompetence and more taxes, so let's have a change of government before any more damage can be done. Finally, let me say that this has been a good debate, and I say to the Prime Minister, let's have 2 more of them.
On that note, I would like to thank you both for taking part in tonight's debate and wish you well for the remainder of this campaign. Can I also thank our panel of journalists, Chris Ullman, Laura Tingle and Malcolm Farr, and thank you for joining us. I hope this has helped you with your decision on who to vote for come August 21. I'll now invite the 2 leaders to shake hands and wish you all a good night.
Well, there you have it. The leaders have spoken. Shaking hands. What do you think? Well, coming up, the moment of truth. Who won and who